Hello everyone, Burb here. This is the Procrastinator's Guide to Cancer Cup. I know you weren't expecting this today because normally it's a little bit later on in the schedule. However, I decided to pull back a few days, so consider that a bit of a bonus. If you haven't watched one of these before, this is the guide meant for those who haven't even started thinking about Cancer Cup. Normally it's the day or two before registration day, or for those who just want to be done with Cancer Cup in a run or two, create 3 passable UMAs, just throw their hat in the ring, and then see how they do and not really stress about the whole CM building process. So we're going to be going over a few things today, as per usual. It's usually a good bit of fun, this video. I like to try and compress everything I've done over the past couple of videos into one singular speedrun of an overview plus the role-based guides, all into a 5 minutes or less speed run. It's a sort of a mini challenge for me. After that, I will go through a bunch of characters. I've split them up into a couple categories because honestly, I'm getting tired about talking about the same 5 characters before, so I'm doing 10 characters. They're not all going to be, top meta, 100% easiest character in their role. I will talk about those ones, and I'll talk about a few different additions that I find to be interesting at the very least as well. And then after that, I'll have a couple honorable mention for strong characters I left off the list for various different reasons. So if you want to, there is, of course, all the role guides as well as the CM overview. The overview itself is only 20 minutes or so. It goes much more in depth into the why. The purpose of my guides is to sort of teach you how to look at a champions meeting and learn for yourself. This guide, unfortunately, due to it being about 5 minutes here, is going to be just telling you what works, what doesn't. So if you want to know more of the why or more of the justifications of why I put stuff on here, that time is in those various guides. So those are available. So let me grab a drink of water and then I will try and speedrun this in 5 minutes. Are you ready? Let's begin. CM15 Cancer Cup is on the Hanshin 2200 meter track. Your greens are right-handed summer runner, wet conditions, Hanshin racecourse, non-standard distance, and cloudy days. Notably, NTR will not be as good because Firm Course Menace is not included within these greens. This is a Christmas Oguri map. She has a 6.1 length advantage when she perfect procs based on 777S. Now, a lot of people are running alternatives to kind of screw that up. However, if you just go and get your 3 wit checks 75% of the time, you will get 6.1 lengths as Christmas Oguri cap, and she can be running the pace chaser or the end closer position, along with some honorable mentions for front runner as well. My recommended stats for this one are a little bit high, as I've been told. For 850 and 550, you can survive with 100 less. There's 100 of each kind of built in there for debuff protection. So if you don't care about the debuff protection, you can lower that down a little bit. Otherwise, try to max your speed, get a balance of power and wit, and then your stamina requirements should give you 100% spurt rate. Now, this is spurt rate, not survival. So if you spurt, you survive on Hanshin tracks due to the massive downhill at the end. Also note that the only thing that really works for debuffs is Dominator and speed debuffs, of course, but also Murmur. Everything after that is in the late race, which will not affect your spurt rate, which is what we care about on this track. For front runners, your primary inherit is angling and scheming, and I don't think you really need much more than 0.2 acceleration, but there's a few options people are going and talking about. Otherwise, you should grab your more mid-race and more late race as much as possible. For pace chasers, you're in a tough spot because you don't have any primary acceleration based on an inherit. You are leaning heavily upon No Stopping Me. If you can't get the Yukino Bijin card, you shouldn't borrow that card. It's only a 0 LB plus own. You need to go and grab Nimble Navigator plus grab something like Doto Alt or Head On or Straight Descent to try to hit that 0.4, but realistically you probably should be playing one of the other roles at that point unless you are truly a Pace Chaser main that wants to just play Pace Chaser for the sake of playing Pace Chaser. For late surgers and end closers, we are leaning upon Measure Dober and Measure Orion also, along with No Stopping Me or Nimble Navigator as our primaries. For late surgers, we have On Your Left and From the Brink, and end closers have From the Brink, but those should be considered secondary or tertiary behind No Stopping Me and behind our primary inherits because they are back half of the pack and we are fighting Christmas Oguri, so we need to not ignore the mid-race this time. After that, you just grab your late race and your mid-race inherits as per usual. Again, basically as a backliner, if you hit Moving Past and Beyond and Pump Iron, you're hitting past the 6.1 threshold of Christmas Oguri cap, and the same thing sort of happens with angling and scheming. You get about 4 lengths plus your PDM advantage, and you are back on par with Christmas Oguri. Note that this is not a spurt map. So spurt map and straight excels and second half final corner excels that we may have been having in the previous champions meeting will not work this time. Final corner excels, although they look great on paper, as soon as you add that 0.4 that is required to beat Christmas Oguri, all of a sudden these get 0 value because you are close to maximum speed. Now, I said in the overview video that final corner velocity instant procs don't work very well. They're just a little risky. They do work with 0.4. They get clipped slightly when you have less than that, but they should be fine. So apologies for that. That is a correction from that video. Also note for you frontrunner and pace chaser players, you do get killer tunes and uptempo on El Condor Pasa Power. If you have a high LB copy of this, you have quite a significant advantage over the rest of the field. Now, laser and Closer players, we do have Eager, but it's just on okay cards, so it's not necessarily needed as much. And speaking of cards, Throne is going to release in the middle of day 1 to day 2 while on this champions meeting, which is really annoying because that means that you have the option of rebuilding. Although I really don't like rebuilding, I cannot ignore that this card gives a ridiculous amount of speed, wit, and skill points along with the gold photon slash, which is medium corners gold, which is your sink for the additional 300 skill points you're going to get from this card. So you may consider this basically locks out your power slot as soon as it releases, and you basically grab the cards that have those good skills on them and your accelerations that you need. Otherwise, basically, if you're free to play or you need some SR cards to fill them out, every single SR card that has 10 race bonus plus basically has some skills for the various roles that the cover character actually has. So just use the ones that have great race bonus that you like to run, and you probably will find success with them. From my calculations and from my sort of looking at room matches and stuff, what I've seen is that frontrunners actually are the strongest role above Christmas Oguri Cap. Now, this is probably because the frontrunners are better at building their characters than the Christmas Oguri players at the moment. I will attest in the next slide that there are a lot of things that are easier to build on Christmas Oguri, but it just seems like the frontrunners are kind of running away with this due to the short final straight. So, frontrunners Christmas Oguri kind of at par at the moment until perhaps we get some better Christmas Oguri players, or perhaps they're not, the good ones aren't running room matches as much. And then after that, I think end closers have better mid race than late surger, and we're going for that 6th position and 5th position, so they are slightly better than the late surgers. The late surgers have alternative options, and then at the very bottom we have the pace chasers who do not have a primary acceleration on fortunately. Now for ease of building, we have V Bourbon, of course, on the top, and then we have our late surgers, which are quite easy because they have so many avenues that they can go through the track. Christmas Oguri happens after that, Pace Chasers after that, because there isn't much to grab, and then end closers do need Daring Strike and are almost required to grab Uma Stand to keep up with the pack, and then finally frontrunners have so much stuff that they grab. Notably on this track, Christmas Oguri is on a 777 track, but because of this downhill lasting more than 10 seconds, After School Stroll as end closer Christmas Oguri, which is a very difficult thing to do, does not count as a perfect proc double trigger, like we call it a Thanos snap, right? So it's just one of the options to proc early instead. That has been the CM guide. I think it was a little over 5 minutes, so I think I failed this time. I might have to retime it, but without further ado, this is the easy build characters. I split them up into our typical offenders that we've always really seen about this, some free-to-play ones, and some ones that I just want to talk about, to be honest. They may not be as strong, and they may not be as easy to build, but I find them to be relatively easy to build. I'll give some suggestions here, and then I'll go from there. So here's a couple characters that I want to highlight here in this section. Here's the typical ones. So Mahona Bourbon Valentine, I think, is still the easiest character for, like, in terms of frontrunner to build. She gives you everything that you need. You can pretty much build any build on this because 10% speed, 10% stamina, 10% power. She's going to be able to do whatever you need to do. The only thing that she doesn't have is taking the lead. However, you do get early lead and you get concentration, which kind of makes up that pact. Plus, you have Groundwork 2 greens, Escape Artist in kit. You grab Killer Tunes on it with like a Pasa. And then, of course, when Throne comes out, you grab the Photon Slash instead. And then Operation Cacao will go and help your early to mid race. Now, the thing is that you can still be beat by characters with Sand Sky with pace ups and Summer Marzensky. But after that, there's really not much competition in the front runner role for her. In the Pace Chaser position, of course, there is Christmas Oguri Cap, and I am talking about the Pace Chaser version because the End Closer version is much harder to build. You have so many options for for basically recoveries. You want 777 as your trigger, and you can grab 2 things before it. You can grab Hydrate, which is probably the best thing. After that, you can probably look at Soft Step. You might get it just from racing in medium races in the career. Corner Recovery is good. Ignite Pure Stamina is hard to get, but it also works as well. After that, you sort of have another tier where you're starting to position bound your stuff, and you have stuff like Dazzle and Diver, Preferred Position, and there's one more I keep forgetting. There's a couple more than that, but after that point, you're position gambling, which is fine. It's just in heavy front runner lobbies, you're going to brick a little bit more. So I suggest these 3 plus these 2. You grab 3 of these, you call it good. 3 is better than 4 in my personal opinion. Late Surger, Triumph Pulse is a good skill, so I will always mention Oguri Cap. She just has Nimble Nav and Kit, 20% speed, 10% power, and Triumph Pulse will get your late race, so you just throw as much mid race as possible on this with Dober and Ryan alt, and you basically have a 0.6 right there. There's not really much you gotta do. For Gold Ship, in the end closer position as usual, Anchors Away is just great mid-race, and she has the Uma stand in Kit, which is very, very, very important for backliners this time. This basically means you just run standard stuff. You can run a 3-speed, 2-wit, 1-power deck on her, and I find that works out very well because just the solo power taps in summer a lot of times will get you enough stamina, and even then, like, they'll roam around to power enough that the 20% stamina will help you out quite a bit. We also did a gold ship build in the end closer guide if you want a little bit more detailed of it, but basically end closers don't really look at stuff for the cards, and they basically just grab whatever is the highest race bonus and grab their stuff from Mr. CB Wit. That's basically it. So for free-to-play easy builds, the free-to-play characters aren't the greatest this time, but they're perfectly able to win. Unfortunately, in the front runner position, it's the hardest to build character, Daiwa Scarlet, but she does come with killer tunes, which can kind of sub out for an escape artist and at least get you there. She is powerful with Resplendent Renes. If you are lagging and somehow get closer up to the pack, you can late proc this for some speed and acceleration leak. But mainly you use this as regular mid-race, and you just try to throw the groundwork combo as well as DDPP and all that stuff on her. And it's kind of progressive as you go. So the more stuff you get on it, the better the character is going to be. But again, this is not going to be close to a V-Bourbon in terms of power level. It's just you can still get lucky pace ups and win the game anyways. We did do a Daiwa build in the Frontrunner guide as well. Agnes Tachyon pace. Okay, so I'll let you look at this for a second. Agnes Tachyon, like I said, pace chasers are a little bit tough this CM, so whatever you build, it's going to be a little bit different and a little bit difficult to win. You pretty much need No Stopping Me or Nimble Nav and some cope accelerations, honestly. But if you're going to go and play a character, you might as well make it like easier for yourself. So you can be position locked out of your ultimate, but Uma Squared technically can speed carry over pretty effectively if it procs on time, and it's at least something that gives a decent amount of length. So perhaps if you nimble nav towards the front of the pack where you're proccing Uma Squared, I think you have a chance of winning at that point. Otherwise, the 20% speed bonus really goes and helps you build this character. Although, like I said, this character can also be built in the late surger role with not too much effort, as well as a Dominator debuffer, although Uma Squared becomes very finicky at that point. It's basically just late race ultimate 0.25 without any HP recovery. For late surger, I'm going to go and plug Winning Ticket this time. I know there's a lot of late surgers that are very good, but for the free-to-player, you do get Fast and Furious, which is a back half, but it's still mid-race. It means you also don't need to run the Marvy power card if you don't want to. You can run Flower Power instead if you want to go solo power, and you probably only need solo power because it's 20% power bonus, so you're going to want to press the speed and the whip button, and then, of course, the power button as well, and I think you get enough stamina with the 10% stamina and a couple of sparks. Now, she also gives you Nimble Nav, late surger corners. Our ticket to win is very finicky, but it counts as your late race when it decides to proc, and this character is very fun to watch, and I will still plug my Oshi, so, this is my bias. We did make a winning ticket build in the late surgery guide. I know, it turns out I've already kind of scouted the easy build characters a little bit. And then we're going to talk about Gold Ship again because she's still also free to play. So nothing's changed from this. For something else, just a couple of extra characters I wanted to highlight. Sane's kind of the front runner. I know it's not necessarily novel, but this character, if she does hit, she does get 0.4 instead of 0.2, and she will sometimes just pace up and then hold off her skills until the late race and just abuse his overtake and pace up. And then from there, with the 20% whip bonus, you can basically max whip and just go from there. So I think she's still one of the easiest front runners to build. Obviously, she struggles against V Bourbon and against Summer Marzensky, but like, you're not always going to be fighting them because a lot of people are just going to be running Christmas Augury Double Dominator. So I think there's a world where you grab Saiyan Sky and you just go and throw as much stuff as you can with Groundwork combo. And then from there, Saiyan Sky's 0.4, if she ever hits first, will steal you a bunch of wins. I will not suggest another Pace Chaser. I've already suggested two that I probably shouldn't have suggested the role as much. Like I said, if you're running a Pace Chaser, you are doing it for Pace Chaser main reasons or for Oshi reasons, and they're perfectly fine. They can win. It's just I don't think there's anything that's particularly like Pace Chaser locked that I need to talk about in this section. But if you want to do something cool, I guess you can go and put Radiant Star on your Christmas Augury. We did a video on that, and make it easier for me to beat you all because, you know, you're going to high roll about 7% of the time and then break 13% of your runs. So yeah, go for it. For Late Surger, I want to talk about Kamakami Princess. I know her stat buffs are absolutely terrible, but this character has Rising Dragon, which is late race as well as no stopping me. So you basically have a ton of skill point sinks to throw stuff into. If you like this character, she is, I think, quite valuable because of the built-in no stopping me. So as a Late Surger player, or if you stretch it to any other position, you can literally just throw like Dober alt on her and then just run 3 speed cards and 2 wit cards and just run power and stam sparks and go from there. I'm sure there's a Guts build out there too. I just don't think Guts is really what you need to do if you're trying to build this in one run. So 3 speed, 2 wit is my suggestion for a lot of these because there's a little bit of power bonus. And Princess Masi's victory is actually surprisingly like consistent with what I've seen. You're usually at least close to somebody on that final straight, especially if you are dueling with them. Other than that, NS7 kit means you just run a real wit card, which is very, very, very powerful. For end closer, I want to talk about Admire Vega. I know she's not the best character in the world, but I think people completely underrate this character. She has 10% speed, 20% power points, which is the best, like one of the best stat spreads in the game, especially for these medium tracks. Don't really need to grab Storm and Drunk. I don't think it's really worth the skill points as much. Grab it behind all the rest of your mid race, and then you can gamble with it later. But otherwise, she has Nimble Nav and Kit and a guaranteed late race ultimate. It's pretty much guaranteed. You just have to not be close to the front, and if you're close to the front on that final straight, you're an end closer that's close to the front on that final straight, and you should be winning anyway. So you have guaranteed late race, you have 10% speed, 20% power. All you have to do is just throw as many like mid-race skills as possible on this character. And like I've been saying that over and over again, but I think she's quite easy to build despite not really giving you too much in the kit besides Nimble Nav. After that, just grab any Dominators. Yeah, they work. If you only are able to build one ace, this will go and increase that win rate of that singular ace, although its effect is not as strong this time because you do have a little bit more room to run than Nakayama. But it's still going to be Christmas Augury Double Dominator every once in a while, and it's going to still be quite powerful and hard to face. So if you really trust your one ace, you can run 2 Dominators to support them, and they're quite easy to build because you just do a standard career and you hope that Dominator procs. Some honorable mentions I didn't include. They're on the screen right now with the reasons why I didn't include them. Some of them are superficial, to be honest. For example, like Agnes Digital, I would probably go and recommend every single time. The problem is that she really should be an end closer right now. And she does have NB technically, so it's a little bit more difficult in the parent swap. But this character with Super Saiyan is just absolutely busted. There's a couple characters I haven't really looked at too much, so I'm not really that great. And then, of course, Measure Dober, Measure Ryan are incredible. I would almost say as a free-to-play player, playing a Measure Ryan just to try to snipe some wins in 6 places are a very good thing for you to do. It's just they're quite hard to build in career, and honestly, I've been losing a lot with them trying to parent build. So, I decided to demote them on this list and hope that they go and give me a couple more victories so that I can actually make them and show they're off their true strength of hitting that 0.4. So here's a couple of honorable mentions that are probably pretty great to run. It's just I don't have that much experience, and I didn't include them on this list because I wanted to highlight other characters. So this has been the Procrastinator's Guide. I hope that you enjoyed, or the Emergency Guide if you saw the thumbnail. use this as a fact sheet. Feel free to come back to it. Again, the full rule guides are available as well. A lot of times this is just like a lot of fun, just compiling everything that I've done for the past couple weeks into one singular video. So I hope you enjoyed. Take care, everyone. Burb out.